Hi, my name's Cole Rotundo, and I'm going to be telling you about the time I had to learn how to become a lawyer in just 2 weeks. So this past spring, I joined a campaign for student body president and vice president at the University of South Carolina. I was brought on as the director of internal operations and as the chief codes officer, but it's that second role I'll be focusing on here. So as chief codes officer, it was my job to fully understand the student government codes and ensure that our campaign stayed compliant with them. I held meetings on best practices with our staff. I focused on helping the team really run a clean campaign, and in many ways it felt like risk management, similar to how an insurance professional works with clients to prevent future claims. But as we all know, no matter how well you prepare, risks are still going to arise. So usually the chief codes officer doesn't deal with much more than those compliance things, but this year tensions between the two campaigns were high. Violation accusations flew and both sides escalated their claims to the Constitutional Council, which is essentially the Supreme Court for the University of South Carolina. So my presidential candidate asked me to represent her as her counsel since I knew the codes better than anybody else. I was in the middle of major exams, and the last thing I wanted to do was prep for a trial, but I had made a commitment, so I said yes. And spent the next 2 days learning courtroom procedures, Robert's Rule, all those things. I learned from my dad, who's been a police officer for 30 years. And then for 2 weeks, I wrote 4 legal briefs. I gathered evidence, witness statements, etc., and prepared a defense and prosecution. So when trial came, I was nervous, but I put on my poker face, and I went out there and I gave it my best shot. And we ended up winning. Both campaigns agreed that the election should be decided by voters, not in a courtroom. Students had an obvious favorite because roughly 77% of voters chose us, which won us the election. And I was later appointed as the chief of staff to the student body president, which is the highest appointed position a student can have at the university. And I oversee about 80 staff and cabinet members in the president's branch, and I also work closely with the university administration to ensure that student voices are heard across the Carolina community. Thank you.